You're listening to Prosper in the Kingdom, the podcast where faith meets practical strategies to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Join hosts John Cleaver and Wendy Lee as they share insights to equip you in your journey toward abundance, spiritually, financially, and beyond. Just a reminder, every situation is unique. The content of this podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be taken as specific financial or medical advice.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Prosper in the Kingdom. I'm your host, John C., with the ever cool Wendy Lee. How are you doing today, Wendy?
Doing great. Good to be here.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, we're on our 3M Make, Manage, and Multiply journey, and I've got an exciting topic for you today. I'm really excited about it, which is why it's an exciting topic. But today we're talking about financial stability. I mean, a lot of people get stressed. I know I used to be one of them. I know we've had conversations where in the past you've had financial stresses. And I think that's honestly the reality for most people. So today we're going to talk about what financial stability really feels like and why most people, unfortunately, never experience it. And so we're going to kind of dive into that today. Again, this whole podcast, Prosper in the Kingdom, is designed to help everyday people just like you, me, Wendy, and your neighbors become healthy, wealthy, and wise through practical biblical stewardship. But I'm going to start with something, again, that most people don't really expect to hear. More, specifically more income does bring relief. Right. And that's what a lot of people think, whether you get a raise or whatnot, but it only is temporary. So it brings that relief at first. A raise comes through, or you get another client, or, a bonus hits. And I've had, all the above. And it's like, yes, oh my gosh, in the past, right? Bills feel lighter at that point, right? Stress kind of goes down. It's like, I got some breathing room, but unfortunately, that's only for a moment, right? It may feel like you're turning a corner, but then life keeps moving, and all of a sudden, it's like the month's over, and that little reprieve you had is gone. I don't know. Can you relate to any of this, Wendy? I mean, am I speaking?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Yeah, when you get that extra. I mean, think about people with their tax returns. I mean, this happens every year.
Perfect example.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, we have money. And then in like 75 seconds, it's gone. And they're like, oh, back to stress, right? They get that little boost of, I feel better. Yeah.
They get that cash injection, right? And it makes you feel like, okay, all my problems are gone. But again, that's a mirage, right? It's a mirror, not a mirror, it's a mirage. But like I said, life keeps moving, right? And then all of a sudden your spending adjusts, you get lifestyle creep, right? And it quietly catches up and eats up that excess. You had that margin that we've talked about in the past, right? And those commitments grow. And before long, that pressure is back, even though you're making more money, right? That was almost, I feel like that was the guy from Star Trek, even though Jim Kirk, right? Sci-fi nerd. But that pressure is back, right? And only now the numbers are bigger and the obligations are heavier and the risk is higher if something goes wrong, right? So really that's what we're going to be diving in today is, why income alone only treats the symptom. Again, treats the symptom and stress creeps back in, and what financial stability actually feels like when structure finally replaces that uncertainty, right? And that's what it's about, the structure piece, right? And this is prime example of that. That was a great example you just brought about the tax. Most of us can experience that, but you look at people who win the lottery, right? Typically within 4 or 5 years, they're broke again because they don't know how to they don't have a plan, right? They don't have structure around it. They just have more money and then it's gone. Kind of like a shooting star, right? So, why is that? Why does more money only fix the problem, and why is it temporary, right? Well, most people misunderstand the following, right? They assume financial pressure is an income problem. Like, I just got to make more money. That's what we're taught in middle class. We know how to do that. We know how to go out and make more money. We talk to clients all the time, right? whether it's business owners, entrepreneurs or network marketers. We work with a lot of network marketers on their financial plan, getting their house in order. And it's like, okay, I just need to go out and get more clients or get more business partners or whatever the case may be. And that's going to fix my problem. And, it does temporarily, but that money, that extra income, and we talk about that, right? We talk about make, but we also talk about manage, and that's the key. But that more money without the structure usually leads to the following. And you, the listener out there, I'm sure you can relate to this too. It leads to more spending because I got more. YOLO, baby. I'm going to reward myself for all my hard work that I put in, which leads to more commitments. Maybe you go out and treat yourself with that car, right? I know a lot of network marketing groups out there have cars. I had a friend of mine who got just an amazing tricked out Jeep. And I asked him, wow, did you win that? He's like, oh yeah. And what it was he won the right to buy that with the logos on it, but he had to actually pay for it. They subsidized part of it, and then I think the company went under and he was stuck with the car. Yep. So it leads to those more commitments. Maybe you decide to go out and buy a boat or whatever the case may be. And it creates a more complex financial lifestyle, right? Because you're adding more to that, even though you got more money, you figured out ways to spend it. Let's just put it that way. That lifestyle creep doesn't typically happen overnight. You get your income, next thing you know, wow, we're doing well. It's time to treat ourselves. Maybe a new car, new house, bigger house, whatever the case. But that lifestyle creeps in quietly. Right. And what started as relief turns into a bigger version of the same stress. And, we've worked with clients, right, that make multiple six figures, but they're still living check to check. And we're coaching them through that, how to get back to where there's that true financial peace. But, the majority of the time, more money is going to end up resulting in more income, is going to result in bigger problems. And now you're higher stakes, right? Again, that income is just going to treat that symptom, but you got to have that structure in place.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, all the time. I was talking to a friend the other day who had her best financial year ever. And she's like, I feel more lost than ever on what I'm even doing with my money. And I don't know where it goes. Because when you don't have a plan for your money, it hits your bank account and you're like, oh yeah, now I can get that thing I've been wanting to get, or now I can pay. One mistake I made before not having structure is I got a huge injection of money that was just a one-time thing. And I used it to pay off all my debt and I didn't do anything else with it. Well, guess what? Because I didn't have an emergency fund, because I didn't distribute that correctly or have a system or have a spending plan, I wound up getting back into debt, because then I needed money and I didn't have it because the income went down. And I was like, man, if I would have been smarter with that chunk of change I got, I'd be in a totally different situation. So, most people are not, walking around constantly saying, the typical American, some people are saying I'm financially stressed, but a lot of people are just like, I feel behind, right? I should be further along right now.
Yeah.
And it's that slow pressure that creeps up emotionally over time, especially as people like near retirement years, or you hit 40, 45 and you're like, man, I thought I'd be in a better financial position by now. Or you get into your 50s and you're like, I am not ready to retire in 12 years or 15, 20 years, right?
Well, and that's the big thing. And we have asked that question on the show several times, and I want you, the listener, to listen to us. Ask yourself this question. Are you where you thought you would be at this point in your life? Are you where you thought you would be financially, or are you way behind? Now, some of you are going, oh no, I'm way ahead. That's great. I mean, I was one of those, oh man, I never thought I would make six figures when I was a little kid, right? I'm like, man, that's rich people, right? And then you get there and it's like, oh, okay. That's all this is. But it ends up creeping up on you. And next thing you know, you're like, man, I still feel like I should be way ahead, but yet here I am still on the struggle bus.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating. So if you are that person, know that there are some options, reach out to us. We'll talk about that later. But I'm sorry. I just wanted to add to that.
No, you're good. But yeah, it's that it starts to show up in our emotions. It starts to show up in the way we carry ourselves. That background anxiety, the feeling that something could go wrong at any moment and you're not prepared. I mean, I've been that person where I'm like, oh, I hear my brakes start squeaking and I'm like, oh, I don't have the money in the bank to be able to take care of that. And it's stress that winds up like affecting so much of your life that you don't even realize. And, a lot of times, even when it looks fine on paper, we still have that financial struggle because we know we don't have a system. We're not prepared.
Yeah.
And so, and the pressure is not just from the numbers. It's because life is happening and you don't have a plan. And not knowing, like putting your head in the sand. In fact, talked to a client today who we just did her financial plan, her and her husband. And I was like, how does it feel? She's like, it was really stressing me out before, but now I feel so much better because at least I know I know the situation, right?
Yeah. And that's the whole thing, right? When that structure that we're talking about, right? When that structure shows up, the behavior changes because now most people, they don't want to deal with their financial situations, right? They keep telling themselves, hey, everything's going to be okay. It'll work out. My income's going to go up, or this is temporary, or whatever the case may be. But then you look up and it's like 5 years later, 6 years later, it's like, well, I'm still in the same boat, man. And, when does it change? And I'm here to tell you, I'm on the post side of 50 and time goes by in a blink of an eye, right? And so it's something that if you stick your head in the sand and hope that it just all works out, you may kid yourself, but eventually it's going to catch up to you. The stress at night, waking up in the middle of the night thinking about, oh my gosh, how am I going to make it to the end of the month? And I got to do it all over again next month. And it does not have to be that way, right? But when you add that structure to it that we're talking about, when that enters the picture, something subtle but powerful happens. And people stop reacting, right? Unexpected expenses don't feel like emergencies anymore. Yeah, they still suck. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you got to pay for a car repair or, I've got a client I'm working with now. They're like, okay, well, we're getting ready to have to replace our AC unit in the house. And, that's not cheap, right? But they've got the plan in place that it's like, hey, I'm not worried about it. I know I've got funds set aside for that and we'll replenish them. But those unexpected curveballs that life throws you, it doesn't feel like an emergency where it's like panic mode, right? The market swings, they don't hijack your emotions. You're not freaking out. Oh my gosh, the S&P went down almost 40% back in 08, right? It doesn't sway you because you've got a plan and it's follow the plan. And your plan, we talked about this a little bit last week, right? That plan it's structured for those windy days or those earthquake days in life, right? Those decisions slow down because there's room to think. If you lose your job, you've got your plan in place, your emergency funds. I don't have to take the first thing. I know my bills are going to be okay, so I've got time to plan accordingly and put it. That calm comes over you, right? And I want to stress that calm is not complacency, right? It's confidence. Okay, hear me on that. It's not complacency, it's confidence because I planned for this. I've got this, right? Period. And that financial pressure, it's an emotion. Financial pressure is emotional long before it's numerical, right? Because that, okay, I don't have the thing to put out the fire that's going on right now, right? And when that structure is missing, every decision feels much louder than it is because you're like just hoping it all doesn't come caving in on you. But, and that causes you to make decisions that you maybe wouldn't normally make. That's why they say never make a decision when you're under emotional duress. Right. There's always that sense that one wrong move could undo everything, right? It's like, like you're a cat on its last life, right? You're trying to just like make things happen and stuff like that. And it's panic mode, survival mode. And it just creates a lot of undue stress, waiting on the other shoe to drop, right? But when, your income has margin, right? Cash flow is clear. You know what's going on. And, that's that spending plan that we talk about. Some people call it a budget, but a budget's like, spending plan's fun. I'm telling you. So look into it. But the long-term growth, is also happening behind the scenes intentionally. It's even at a smaller level, when you get started, right? We talked about that too. That pressure starts to lift. Because, okay, yeah, things may not be perfect, but I've got my pieces in place that I started putting in place when times were good. I'm okay, right? And all of a sudden, even though everything isn't perfect, right? Nothing feels out of control because you've kind of planned for it. It's not ideal, it's not perfect, like I said, but again, you're in the driver's seat and you know, hey, we're on a bumpy road right now. But you look at your spouse, you look at your kids, it's going to be okay because we planned for this, right? And you know, it's, again, that stability, like I said, it's not, you're still going to feel the stress, right? Stability is not about never feeling stress again, but it's about, and I want you to hear me on this, it's about that stress no longer running the show. And I want the listeners to just think about that for a minute. I got chills just talking about that because I've been there, folks. Just think about what it would be like to have your financial house in order and not sweat losing a job, not worry that a big, you know, comma expense just came into your life out of the blue, right? And knowing that I've got it covered. What would that feel like to you, right?
Yeah. And the truth is it's not going to happen overnight, right? It takes intention. It's going to take work. And that's where, you know, our 3M wealth framework, it helps create that place for you, that it changes how money feels when, you know, we're talking make, manage, and multiply working together. So, you know, as we've said before, early on, we have to have more emphasis on the make and manage and the multiply, like you said, smaller levels. But as one, you get better at the managing piece and you zero in and nail that down, and you're not emotionally spending or, you know, some people, we have people that it's therapeutic, they think, right, to shop and to spend money. Or, you know, if people have been in lack, I know that was a big thing for me. I didn't get a lot when I love my parents, but they were very frugal. And so I didn't get a lot when I was a kid. So then when I got in my 20s and I was making money, I was a spender, right? Like it made me feel good. So, but when you get that manage piece under control.
Did you have one of those money guns that you just kind of walked into a store and started launching? You wasn't that bad.
Okay. I mean, almost. I was telling someone that the other day. I used to go into Target with my now 22 and 23-year-old when they were little kids, and we spent $40 to $60 every Saturday at Target, like on toys. And now I'm like, I can't imagine doing it. I would never do that now, but that's what we did. But you know, as cash flow improves and the debt is reduced, then we get to shift towards multiply, right? And really start to see that big long-term picture and the piece that comes around that, all of that. So, you know, when pressure hits, you margin from the make, right? So making money and having a difference between what your bills are and what your income is, that's going to help absorb the shock, you know, if something comes unexpected, right? And then having that clarity from managing your money well helps prevent the panic. And then that consistency on the multiply piece keeps time working in your favor. And, you know, this isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent and being intentional, right? So, I mean, when you hear people say, I can finally breathe, right? I'm not afraid. How many people are afraid to open their bank accounts and look like, I don't want to see it, you know? But to not be afraid to open them, to know what your money is doing, to be the master of your money, right? And, you know, I say the master of God's money. He's entrusting it to you to handle well. And that's the big shift I've had to have in my mind over the last, you know, 12 to 18 months is like, I need to be a good steward of what he's given me and trusted me. Right. And you know, they're not just, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that, you know, that's a great example. He's going to give you some to see what you do with it. And then the more you're able to manage it, the more you recognize, you know, really whose money it is. And that you are just a steward and you're becoming a good steward of that money, the blessings are going to continue to come because he's like, okay, you get it now, you're focused, and I want you to do more for the kingdom, which, you know, that's why we call our group Prosper in the Kingdom. And not to go down a big rabbit hole with this, but, you know, your territory is going to start expanding on what you're able to do with that and the blessings that you can then pass on to others, right? And it all starts with you and your house, right? And getting your own money right, and then started to go outwards. So
absolutely. Yeah. And these, we have these financial milestones, but they're also very emotional, right? I mean, I had an amazing call with somebody last week that was telling me her story of getting out of debt. And by the end of the story, she's like in tears because it was such, it is such an emotional process. And so, so on the flip side, right? Like she got herself out of $1.6 million in debt in 8 years.
Wow.
And literally has zero debt. And I'm talking including a homestead, right? Zero debt and money in the bank and money invested and money in gold and silver. Like in 8 years, she completely changed her situation and she didn't win the lottery.
Focus. Yeah, that is focus right there.
Yeah. And she's like, Wendy, I just hunkered down and we lost friends because we didn't do the things we used to do because we took it serious. And now the freedom, she's like, I just want people to feel this level of freedom, and it is an emotional journey. So,
well, and that's a large part of it, right? I mean, and folks, just to kind of, recap before I even go into that, it's, life was not meant for you to wake up worried about bills and things like that, and then run to a job that you hate to work there to get money, to pay the bills and things like that, to eke a living, and then reward yourself with some little piece of humble pie on buying something, and then go back out and do it all again, right? Financial stability and financial, not just wealth. I'm not talking wealth. I'm not talking about hey, I've got $1 million plus paid off or whatever, but just wherever you're at, just to be have that freedom, right? Freedom from stress, freedom from, maybe working in a job that doesn't align with your beliefs or things like that. It's just, financial success, it doesn't feel dramatic, right? It's not some like, fireball of a pyrotechnic show and all that stuff. It's just like, it's quieter. And, like I said, as you get to a certain point in life, really what I'm striving for is my peace and tranquility. Okay. In all aspects of my life. And, that's what this feels like. That's what financial stability really feels like. It feels like relief, right? That, oh man, I don't have to worry about money anymore. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I said, there's still times you get stressed about it, but it's not something where you're reacting to that, right? It feels like clarity because I know, okay, this curveball came at me, but I know how to respond to it because I have a plan in place, right? And it feels like knowing one unexpected curveball or one hit or whatever is not going to knock everything over, which that's where a lot of people are at. It's like we're razor thin on everything. So one little shift is going to knock everything. Everything's going to come down like a house of cards, right? That is what that financial piece feels like. Is all of that goes away, right? And if you want to understand where financial pressure may still be coming in your own situation and where structure could immediately reduce stress, we've created a simple starting point, right? And if you don't get with us, get with somebody, okay? Because you don't have to live like this anymore. I'm here to tell you that, it's right there for you to take. But get your free Safe Money Roadmap, right? I'll put a link in the chat and then the show notes. But it's simply go to Safe Money Roadmap, fill out the information. We'll give you a free plan. Do something with it or not. But at least now you've got a roadmap how to get from point A in your life to point B and experience at least some of that financial pressure relief in the fact that you at least know what's going on right now. But again, it's not about, doing more, and making more. And don't get me wrong, that's part of it, right? The more margin you have, the faster this can all go for you. Right. It's about building something that holds when life pushes back. And it's not a matter of if it's going to happen. It's a matter of when, right? We all know this. And that's what financial stability really feels like. So with that, I don't know if you've got anything else to add so we can wrap up here, Wendy.
No, I feel like it was good word.
There you go. So it's short and simple today, folks, but financial relief is there for you. It's just a matter of you, taking a little action in deciding enough is enough I'm tired of being tired about my financial situation, and I want to start taking action now. So hopefully we can help you. If not, find some help from somebody. But if you like the show, do us a favor, give us some love, right? Click that little heart button, that little thumbs up button, give us a like. Share this on your own social media if you got some value out of it and think, hey, this could really help somebody else out. And don't forget, we've got a YouTube channel, right? But we've also got a podcast. We're on Apple, we're on Spotify, as well as a couple of others. You can find all of this on our website, prosperinthekingdom.com. And again, everybody, make it a great week. We'll see you next Wednesday. It's same bat channel, same bat time, I think. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, but have a little fun with it. And by the way, if you kind of hopped on this whole caricature thing that I've seen on social media, it's kind of fun. So have a little fun with that too. But again, life is short. Enjoy it. Get your financial house in order so you and your family can have stress-free living. So bye, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Prosper in the Kingdom. If this episode added value to your day, be sure to like and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with someone who could use the encouragement. For more resources, head to prosperinthekingdom.com. Let's continue building lives of purpose and abundance, one step at a time.